Most people have seen the Ice Bucket challenges for ALS awareness all over social media. But how many people have actually seen what it is to live with ALS? Join MB12 this Monday evening for an in-depth look at what it is to live with this debilitating disease as we do our part to increase ALS awareness.
An alleged murder suspect shot and killed overnight. Could government remove discriminatory elements from the gaming bill? Plus, LGBT activists slam Dr. Myles Monroe. We've got those stories and a whole lot more coming up tonight. I'm Vonnie Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the man charged last year in connection with the murder of alleged gang leader Julian Heads-Colley is his country's latest murder victim. His body was discovered outside a preschool around 8 this morning. Police believe the victim's killer shot 3 others as they searched for him. His devastated mother is now calling on the government to resume hangings.
Somebody shot him. Nobody knows who shoot him. This is the second time they shoot him. The government need to do something about all this murdering. Hang the buggers! Hang them!
Anita King's piercing screams filled the air this morning as her son's body was rolled into the back of a hearse.
I need Rolando. Let me see him. Let me see him. I could see that boy in there.
Police say Rolando Smith was gunned down in the Montel Heights area shortly after midnight, but his body wasn't discovered until around 8 a.m. outside a preschool. CDU Chief Superintendent Paul Roll says Smith was hanging out with several other men outside his home when the occupants of a gray vehicle rolled up.
A group of men were sitting on the wall in front of a residence when persons in a gray Honda type vehicle drove up, and 2 persons exited the vehicle and began discharging shots into the crowd.
Roll says EMS personnel raced to the scene and transported a man to hospital, where he is listed in serious condition. However, officials didn't realize that a second person had been shot until Smith's body was discovered this morning.
This morning, the workers from the preschool came to open up and discovered a male lying in the foreground of the premises. During the shooting incident last night, the 4 individuals ran in different directions. So I don't believe that they knew that this young man was in fact injured.
Roll says police believe the men responsible for Smith's murder shot 2 others on Broome Street and Hay Street as they searched for Smith.
Just prior to this shooting coming in, we had 2 other shooting incidents in the Broome Street area where persons in a gray Honda type vehicle drove through, and as individuals were standing, discharged shots into the direction of the individuals. A male was shot in the Broome Street, and similarly a short time later in the Hay Street area.
Roll confirmed that Smith was charged last year with the April 2013 murder of alleged gang leader Julian Heads-Colley. As police escorted Smith into the magistrate's court on August 21, 2013, associates of Colley shouted threats at him, and Smith told the magistrate that a man inside the courtroom had threatened to kill him.
He's the boss. He's the boss now.
Roll could not say when Smith was granted bail and refused to comment when asked his thoughts on murder suspects receiving bail. However, Smith's mother insisted that her son was falsely accused, telling reporters he was struggling to provide for his two boys ages 4 and 1.
I hear my son was shot last night sitting on the wall. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Just tell us what kind of person was your son? What kind of person was he?
My son is a loving, kind-hearted person with 2 little baby children. He tried to struggle and take care.
King says it's not the first time her son was shot.
When they shoot him last year, May, March, they shoot him down 8 times. Nothing was done. Nobody say nothing. They come back and shoot him up again. He was sitting on the wall, they didn't do nobody nothing. They got him accused wrongly. They have him accused falsely. They even can't prove nothing.
And as government prepares to table the amended gaming bill tomorrow, Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe says officials have addressed concerns about discriminatory elements of the revised bill. Wilshcombe was responding to questions on whether government plans to allow Bahamians to gamble in casinos and foreigners to gamble in web shops. Simone Davis reports.
Minister of Tourism Obi Wilshcombe suggested today that the amendments made to the gaming bill would quash concerns over discriminatory aspects of the bill. NB12 understands the Progressive Liberal Party held a parliamentary meeting tonight to discuss the amendments in the bill and the discriminatory clause that prevents Bahamians from gambling in casinos and foreigners from participating in web shops. Wilshcombe said today that gambling has always existed in the Bahamas and it is time to regularize the industry. He said the government has to consider all the consequences and issues related to the decision they will make.
At the end of the day, we're a democracy. Colleagues have a right to say how they feel about things. I think we've done a pretty good job. Certain matters that we're seeking to do, you have to appreciate there's a process of gradualism that's important as we move forward. We have to think of all the consequences and all the issues related to what we intend to do.
Wilshcombe added that it is important for the government to regularize web shops before the onset of the value-added tax in January. When asked whether foreigners would be able to participate in web shops, Wilshcombe said casino owners in the Bahamas have raised that concern. However, he asked,
how do you stop them in real terms? How do you stop you from going to the places in real terms? You're not going to market to them, but how do you stop them? I mean, at the end of the day, it's their dollars. They can do what they want to do. The industry has been very successful up to this point. The Bahamians have been able to master an industry. The evolution of it from numbers to where it is today, the use of technology has ushered in something incredibly new.
When pressed on whether the government would allow Bahamians to gamble in casinos and foreigners to patronize web shops, Wilshcombe said the government has made steps toward eliminating discrimination.
I think we've made steps toward getting to the point where we won't have to be talking about discrimination again.
Wilshcombe indicated that the government has settled on a tax rate for web shop earnings and how many licenses would be issued, but that will be subject to change once the government reviews the industry after regularization. Though he did not mention what the government has proposed as the tax rate, he did say they have to ensure that they are able to revisit it. The government will table and have a first reading of a newly amended bill in the House of Assembly tomorrow. Wilshcombe said he expects to begin debate on the bill next Wednesday. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
And Attorney Wayne Monroe insisted that if the government does not adequately address discrimination in the amended gaming bill, owners of those establishments may take their businesses outside of this country. Monroe, who represents 5 web shops, is also calling on the government to introduce an equitable rate of taxation.
The issue is going to be whether or not the Bahamas government decides to permit Bahamian entrepreneurs to do business with the world from the Bahamas. If they decide not to do that, all the Bahamian entrepreneurs will do is do business with the rest of the world in another country, where they will then be the foreign direct investor. That would be unfortunate because we would miss out on the taxes that flow from that and all the benefits that flow from that.
Monroe told NB12 whatever decision is made needs to be fair for all parties.
The only thing that I don't say I would wish to see, but I would demand from the government, is that in whatever bill they put forward, Bahamians should be treated at least the same as foreign businesses, and since this is the Bahamas, we should be treated better.
As for the rate of taxation, Monroe said he hopes that the government won't tax web shops more than it does local casinos. In other news, 2 lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender activists are firing back at Dr. Myles Monroe tonight, following his assertion that people have hijacked and raped the meaning of the civil rights movement in an effort to fight for the LGBT community. Activists claim Monroe is perpetuating discrimination against homosexuals. Jasmine Brown reports.
Those activists insist Monroe's comments discriminate against an already marginalized group in the Bahamas. In his statement titled Homosexuality, Phobia or Principle, Monroe said he has watched with horror over the years as people have hijacked and raped the meaning of the civil rights movement in an effort to fight for the right of the LGBT community. Monroe's statement was in response to a gay pride event that took place on Grand Bahama over the weekend. Green, who has been at the forefront of activism for LGBT rights, says she was shocked by Monroe's comments.
It paints the picture that the Bahamas is a country where LGBT people can be discriminated against, because statements like these embolden people.
Green is not the only person to weigh in on Dr. Monroe's comments. Former lecturer at the College of the Bahamas, Joseph Gaskins Jr., said he too was alarmed by Monroe's statement. On Monday, Gaskins accused Monroe of rank hypocrisy by making grand statements about homosexuality, but making no statement about the sinful lifestyles being displayed in nightclubs throughout the country. He also questioned the type of democracy Monroe wants for the Bahamas. Meantime, Green said LGBT people have a right to freedom of association, freedom of consciousness, and expression. She added that as an LGBT advocate, she has been stalked, verbally harassed, and assaulted, and has faced several death threats in the last 3 years with no recourse. She alleged that since news broke of the gay pride event in Grand Bahama, there have been several attacks on members of the LGBT community.
There's been an increase in attacks on LGBT people in the last few days.
Green was slated to be honored at the gay pride event over the weekend. That was cut short because members of the LGBT community expressed security concerns. The Bahamas Pride Weekend is designed to inspire, educate, and celebrate the diverse Bahamian LGBT community, according to a statement from the event organizers. But event organizer Victor Rollins told our news team yesterday that aside from the organizers, there were less than a dozen people there, and they were all foreigners. Speaking about the controversial event, Green said she was disappointed but not surprised. She added that she did not attend the event because of a work conflict.
I was unable to attend due to work conflicts, but also because I was dealing with LGBT issues on the ground in Nassau. This is the nature of activism, right? Sometimes we have our hands in many different parts, and there are different levels of issues that the community is engaging with.
Green says she is willing to discuss her views with Monroe once they take place in a fair and balanced environment. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And when NB12 returns, Andros residents still enduring pothole-riddled roads. Plus, the DPM addresses the SIDS conference. Those details are on the other side of the break.